There is not a we. All of these people come talking about, well, we need to buy land, well, we need to do this, we need to create our own businesses. There's not a we. We're not unified like that. One of the reasons why the civil rights movement was as successful as it was is it was a family movement. Very little, about 20% of our children were born out of wedlock compared to damn near 80% now. Because I'm not a person that has been perfect. I have been guilty of some of the stuff that I talk about, right? So, in order to get something done, I'm going to be an independent, and I want you guys to fight for my votes instead of giving me what you think I need or making an offer that does not address my needs. They must serve us. We don't need to be saved by them. We need to be served. Entire military's one single mission is to defend and protect the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's why the military is created, is to protect our rights as citizens. So what does that mean? What does operational readiness mean? That means you got to be physically, mentally, you can't have any types of barriers or blocks or anything that's going to take you out of being able to perform the tasks that you need to do to help the greater mission, right?
No soldier comes into the military knowing exactly how to get ready. Okay,
No,
that
no.
comes from their leadership. It comes from someone who has won their trust, respect, and confidence to get them ready.
Leadership is not bossing someone. A leader is
Right.
actively involved in the mission. Okay. If you are a father and a husband, all right, in your home, you take the lead. When it's time to clean the yard and rake the leaves in the fall time, you out there with the whole family, the wife, the kids, everybody's taking a part, but you're the leader.
What does operational readiness look like outside of the military for an
Yeah.
individual?
Yeah.
Outside of military, as a high school teenager or even someone in their 20s, one of the things I say is don't become a parent before you become a spouse. All right. That is a huge problem. Okay.
Mm.
Because that will hurt your operational readiness because whatever resources you have go from whole to half.
Leonard, because you and I have talked about it multiple times how the dominant European culture have used religion to divide us all over the place.
That right there is divisive, okay, because you have so many different faiths and everybody considers themselves right. So what we have to do is try to bridge the commonality. A operational ready community without operational ready families, without operational ready mothers and fathers, and then children becoming operationally ready because you're passing down cultures and traditions, all right, within your family, and you're living on code, all right. That's another
Mm.
term that we got to get used to hearing is living on code, meaning that when certain things happen, there are certain things you have to do because that's the code, right? And that's one thing that the military teaches you.
Leonard is totally right. Any society that does not have strong marriage and families will soon crumble. And that's what's happening in America across all ethnicities. It's a culture.
When you look at perspective from, American Europeans, as Michel would say, all right, um, they enjoy the privileges of being an American. They understand what that is, okay? We, us, quote unquote, black folks, still are trying to get to that place where we, are enjoying the fruits of being an American. Has racism happened? Has racism, held us back? Absolutely. Is there still racism in place? Yes. All right. But we have to say, I will not be a victim of racism. Okay. If my path is a little bit harder, then I'll go down that path, but I'm going to do what I need to do to make to make that path behind me less difficult for those that come behind me. So that is part of an obligation. But still, you got to get to a place where you're able to go down that path, right? And that's been our problem is we're not in a place where we're able to go down that path. We no financial literacy.
What I hear a lot of times, we talk about building a movement from the bottom up. So
Mhm.
you have Dossie Pack.
The purpose of DOS PAC is to get our people or whomever else, all right, to leave partisan politics and become independents, all right, and force these parties to compete for our votes based upon issues that we demand to be taken care of. We have
Pretty
specific
much what
issues.
Ice Cube was trying to do with the
Right, right,
contract
right.
with Black America, right?
There you go. See, so this doesn't mean that you stop being a conservative, you stop being a liberal, you stop, supporting which party, right? But what you're doing is leveraging your position by saying, hey, listen, you know, I'm not just going to just be loyal to you just because, I'm opposed to these people. I'm trying to get something done. So in order to get something done, I'm going to be an independent, and I want you guys to fight for my votes instead of giving me what you think I need or making an offer that does not address my needs. They must serve us. We don't need to be saved by them. We need to be served by
Say
them.
it, preach
And
it,
the way
preach
you
it.
the way they have to serve us, all right, but now that's a two-way street. Is you got to be involved in the process. You have to demand, all right, if there are laws saying, oh, you're no, that doesn't work because you serve me, okay? You serve me, and I say this does not work for my family, okay? What happens in my household, the leadership that I provide. All right, James Brown had a song called Pay the Cost to Be the Boss, right?
How do we create a bottom up movement based on where people are, not where you think they ought to be?
Essence of it all, right, is unity, okay? Plain and simple. If you have unity, then no matter where a person is, they'll get to where they need to be, right? Because you're going to have other people saying, hey, listen, let's do this, let's work on that. Let's educate ourselves in this because this is an important goal that we need to achieve, and I need all hands on deck. So if you're not there, it's okay. All right, I'm gonna help you get to where we gotta be, which is fine, right? But it requires unity. And that's if you can't have unity in the household, then you can't have unity anywhere. One of the reasons why the civil rights movement was as successful as it was is it was a family movement. 85% of quote unquote black households or families or had a marriage rate of where we had black people had a marriage rate of 85%. Okay, so there was no shacking. There was very little, about 20% of our children were born out of wedlock compared to damn near 80% now. Is that there's not a we. Without unity, without seeing ourselves moving in one direction, there is not a we. All of these people come talking about, well, we need to buy land, well, we need to do this, we need to create our own businesses. There's not a we. We're not unified like that. Okay. So that's the first easiest thing that we could do is say, you know what? I vow to myself that I will not have a child out of wedlock. I will have a child with my spouse. All right. That is a vow that I will keep to myself. Right. If you
Principles.
start,
You're talking about having some principles, right?
right. If you start with that right there, okay, and then you say, all right, I'm gonna pay my bills on time, okay, because what does that do? That establishes credit. One of the things that we
Individual
got to
responsibility. Yeah.
individual responsibility, right? And what is the reward for that? Is that's purchasing a house, which is your very first investment. So that's one of the things you got to do. Like I said, is I watched very little of these shootings. Once I seen all the stuff happen, I don't want to see all of the details because it really kind of doesn't matter to me because the fact is that something horrible happened, right? I suffer from PTSD, so I don't really want to dwell on that kind of stuff, right? So what I want to dwell on is all right. What's my next moves? What am I going? I started late in life. I'm not a person, and I can speak to these things because I'm not a person that has been perfect. I have been guilty of some of the stuff that I talk about, right? So this is why I can reach out to people and say, hey, listen, don't make the mistakes that I've made, okay? Because if your parents are not saying, listen, don't do this how we doing. See how we're struggling? Don't struggle like how we're struggling and do the same things I did. This is where we got to get all the way back down to the bedrock. And like you said, like Marcus said, is once we get ourselves in that position, then we can start to form a movement because we don't have to worry about other things, right? We got our households in check, and that's what we got to. Let's not have our children making the same mistakes that we made or living how we live. Our children should be better. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, college educated, went to Tuskegee Institute, could only become a cook, right? I have gone further than my grandfather economically, financially, all of that, but I'm not a greater man than my grandfather. Nobody's coming to save us. All right, the helping hand we need is right here at the end of our arm. So we got to
Mm.
help ourselves. And with the last thing I'm gonna say on that is Frederick Douglass said, I prayed to God for 20 years to get me out of slavery, and I paraphrase, and my prayers weren't answered until I started praying with my legs. That means we got to do something, right? And the first place you do something is with yourself. Evaluate yourself and say, could I be living better? Could I be doing things better? Can I get a skill or a trade, get a side hustle going, something to where, my life and my family and these things are better? That way I can start to address the larger issues within our community because the issues in my house are in check.
Well, excuse me, I would say what Kwame Salter said, if you suffered and did not succeed, someone will succeed after you. And if you succeeded and did not suffer, then someone suffered before you. We have to look at this across the entire spectrum. Some people may not be able to contribute money, but they can contribute time. And so as we talk about building from the bottom up, we have to be mindful that not everybody will be in the same place at the same time. And if we keep saying not now, then when?
Right.